I should start by admitting something. Quiet afternoons in the kitchen have a way of surprising you. You think you know how your day will unfold, but then life nudges you in a direction you never expected. That's what happened the afternoon Daniel, my neighbor's grown son, knocked on my door. Even now, the memory gives my heart a strange, quiet flutter. I had turned 60 a few months earlier, a number I tried to say lightly, but one that sometimes settled on my shoulders like a shadow, other times like gentle sunlight. That day, the light felt warm. It spilled across the counter as I sliced tomatoes for a simple salad. The house was silent, the neighborhood calm, just the soft hum of the world shifting into its afternoon lull. I certainly wasn't expecting Daniel. He was 32 now, polite in a way many young men aren't, tall enough that I always had to tilt my chin slightly when speaking to him. I still carried a mental picture of him at 10, knees scraped, hair wild, riding his bike too fast down the street. But lately, every so often, I glimpsed the man he had become, and the image unsettled me in a quiet, unfamiliar way. I was wiping tomato juice from my hands when a firm, unhurried knock echoed through the house. Something in the sound made me straighten my spine, smooth my hair, and inhale before opening the door. There he stood, framed by late afternoon light, a toolbox hanging awkwardly from one hand. His expression was somewhere between uneasy and apologetic. "Hi, Miss Carter," he said with a small, embarrassed smile. "Sorry to bother you. I actually need a favor." I laughed softly and told him to call me by my first name, something he still struggled with. As he stepped inside, I sensed a heaviness around him, not tension exactly, but something he was trying to carry alone. The air shifted, thickened in a way that made me quietly aware of him, of us, of the space between us. He set the toolbox on the counter, but didn't open it. Instead, he ran a hand through his hair, a gesture that tugged unexpectedly at an old memory of his father doing the same thing at that age. "I didn't come to fix anything," he admitted finally. "I just needed to talk to someone." There was sincerity in his voice that softened something inside me. I motioned to the small kitchen table, the one marked by decades of conversations, griefs, laughter, and ordinary moments. He hesitated, then sat. I poured 2 glasses of water, pretending my hands were steady. "My mom and I had a fight," he said quietly. "A bad one. I didn't know where else to go." His words weren't dramatic, but they carried years of pressure, frustration, and unspoken emotions. He talked slowly, peeling back layers he hadn't shared with anyone. I listened, not out of curiosity but empathy, the kind you feel deep in your chest. Partway through, he laughed softly at something he said, and the sound warmed the room more than sunlight could. He told me he appreciated how easy it was to talk to me, that I made things feel clearer. Something fluttered inside me, gentle, unexpected. Then came the moment I remember most vividly. He looked up, held my gaze just a fraction too long, his eyes softening with something unspoken. It wasn't inappropriate, not even close, but something shifted. A thin, delicate thread began weaving itself between us. When he finally left, he paused at the door and said softly, "Thank you. I didn't realize how much I needed this." I stood in the quiet long after he'd gone, realizing something had awakened in me too, something subtle, delicate, like a curtain lifting in a room I thought I'd sealed years ago. And that was only the beginning. The morning after our first long conversation, the house felt different, as if it remembered the words Daniel had spoken. Even the sunlight seemed warmer, settling across the floorboards in a way that made me notice things I usually overlooked. The soft hum of the refrigerator, the faint citrus scent of cleaner, the gentle sway of the curtain in the breeze. It was subtle, but the quiet made everything feel more alive. Around 10, a light, hesitant knock pulled me from my thoughts. My heart jumped in a way that surprised me. When I opened the door, there he was, Daniel, hands in his pockets, shoulders slightly hunched, eyes uncertain, but a careful smile tugging at his lips. "Morning," he said softly. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything." "Not at all," I replied, stepping aside. "Come in." He stepped over the threshold, and I caught the faint scent of fresh laundry mingled with the crisp air of early winter. We settled at the kitchen table again, the one that had witnessed decades of ordinary life, yet now seemed to hold something entirely new. I made tea, moving around the kitchen with deliberate calm, as if my movements could somehow ease the tension I felt beneath the surface. When I set his cup before him, our hands brushed lightly. The warmth lingered far longer than expected. "It was worse this morning," he said quietly after a long pause. "Mom barely looked at me. I know she's hurting. I know I'm part of it. But every time I try, it feels like we're standing on opposite sides of a wall neither of us built." I nodded slowly. "Sometimes distance grows in small moments," I said. "Not the big ones." He exhaled, a sound that carried relief. For a while, he spoke about family, about expectations, about the quiet pressures that accumulate without us noticing. He spoke softly, steadily, trusting me with things he hadn't told anyone. And I listened, not just with my ears, but with my full attention, giving him the space to speak without judgment or interruption. "You make it easier to breathe," he said quietly at one point, almost embarrassed. The words settled between us like a soft warmth, unforced and sincere. I looked at him differently then. Not the boy next door, but a man finding his footing in a world that often felt unsteady. "You're kinder to yourself when you talk to me," I told him. "Maybe that's what you're really needing." He smiled, small but genuine. After that day, his visits became more frequent, always tentative, never imposing. Each knock at the door carried a subtle charge, not tension, but awareness, a quiet alertness that made me notice small details I had never paid attention to before. The way his eyes lingered on something, the slight tilt of his head, the faint warmth in his voice. One afternoon, he arrived with a basket of fresh vegetables from the market. "I remembered you liked these heirloom tomatoes," he said, voice casual but carrying an unspoken tenderness. I felt that warmth again, the feeling of being truly seen. We shared tea, conversation drifting seamlessly between light topics and more personal reflections. Later, he helped me hang a picture frame I had avoided for months. As we worked side by side, our hands brushed again, accidental, but deliberate in the smallest way, and we both paused, sharing a quiet understanding. Not desire, not confusion, just recognition. Two people meeting fully, honestly, in the simplest of ways. When he finally stepped back, he said softly, "I might come by again later if that's all right." "It's more than all right," I replied. After he left, I touched the doorframe where his fingers had lingered, feeling a quiet echo of the connection we were building. I didn't know where it would lead, but I knew one thing. The gentle rhythm of his visits, the subtle presence of his kindness, had begun to awaken something in me I hadn't felt in years. And somehow, I knew this was only the beginning.